Welcome back to a very special episode of the Third Wall Podcast. I'm Caleb.
I'm Shaps.
Why do I have this crap-eating grin on my face?
Okay.
And why am I so happy today? Why did I say it was a special episode?
Is it going to be, are you going to bully me in some way? Is that what
I
it
am.
is?
This is
Yeah.
the first 5 minutes of this episode. We finished Harry Potter Book 6.
Yes.
And I say we. Who am I talking about, actually?
You had to read it too, so it still works.
Toodles, I'm so sorry this took so long.
Man, how about I apologize to Toodles? I'm so sorry, Toodles,
No.
that I have a life. And you know what, Toodles, you have a life too.
Bro, I read this during my marriage. I got married. I read this before that.
Yikes, man.
Yeah, no. Okay, so full disclaimer, I read this 3 months ago, and I was waiting on other factors to fall into place before
Thanks for covering that.
Yeah, it took Shaps a while to read it. I finished it quite a while ago. So when he told me yesterday, hey, I'm ready to talk about Harry Potter, imagine my surprise and rush to like, oh, I got to find videos. I got to read Spark Notes.
Okay.
I got to find Cliff and get his notes.
You're making me sound like I'm an illiterate. No, it took me 2 weeks to read this, okay?
Oh, no, I'm not saying that you
Took
couldn't
me
read.
2 weeks. All right. Finding the perfect amount of time where I don't have to worry about anything else but read, dude. These books are chonky.
I'm not implying you can't read. I'm saying it took you forever.
This is freaking Harry Potter telling Ron that he's going to get an F on his exam.
Have you seen my grades in potions? They're really low. Okay. So I'm excited. We're almost at the end of the series.
I do have a one. Yeah. Continue.
Oh, no. What are you going
I
to
have
say?
a little. Well, basically, like I was really excited to read this book because it's a little personal story for me. When I was like a kid, I was like, I don't know, maybe it was like 4th or 5th grade. I saw people reading Harry Potter all the time, and there was this one kid who like obsessed over it. He had every book, and that cover in particular is the one I remember distinctly. I was like, whoa, that's weird. I don't know why it just stuck out to me. Had no idea, no context or anything, and I was like, I'm never gonna read these books. They're too big.
Yeah.
They're too huge. Like there's so many of them, and my parents don't like witchcraft. Like it's not gonna happen ever. So it's just really cool. Like I've actually gotten there.
I think you're right, actually. I think this is the cover I remember, and I had no context.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I didn't know it was book 6 out of 7. I didn't know this was the end of the journey, close to. But the cover, it just looks really good. It's green. That's like one of my favorite colors. That's what I wear a lot. Not today, but usually I wear a lot of green.
Yeah, it resonated with. I'm not sure why, but it resonated with me for some reason.
The title's really good.
Yeah, the Half-Blood Prince sounds really cool. Now I do want to one more quick thing.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me if this sounds too fast for you. A little preview of the next book, I guess, technically. But audience, does this sound too fast for you?
There was a rustle somewhere to their right. Yaxley drew his wand again, pointing it over his companion's head. But the source of the noise proved to be nothing more than a pure white peacock, strutting majestically along.
Okay, does that sound normal or fast to you?
Ridiculously fast.
Okay, and does this sound normal to you?
He always did himself well, Lucius. Peacocks. Yaxley thrust.
What's that sound like?
A little slower, but about what an audiobook sounds like.
That sounds like a snail's pace to me.
I agree.
Because I've been listening to 1.5 for, again, 2 weeks. So that sounded normal to me. The speed. Just wanted to let you guys know how dedicated I was to this and how much I'm like, all right, everyone, just do faster.
Hurry up. So that first one was 1.5.
First one was 1.5. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then by the end I was like, why do the characters sound so weird? Because I switched to one. When I want to focus like towards the end, I was like, okay, I'm gonna switch it to normal. I was like, why is everything so slow and drawn out? But I'm good now. I'm back in the normal.
Yeah. So there's your backstory, everybody. And Toodles, that's why it took so long. His work has been keeping him crazy busy. I got married. That also took a lot. And I've been gaining weight on the honeymoon phase for 3 months. So, but we're back. What?
Did they? Okay.
Are you done? This
No.
is about Harry Potter today, sir. Okay. Well, this episode will go on hopefully as long as it needs to.
Yes.
Okay. If it's going to go over, that's cool with me, and I hope you guys enjoy it. But so, very notoriously, I hate Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But I love this book.
Originally, that was supposed to be the title of the series.
Yeah, up until I would say the first 3 books we were reading, I was like, this has gotten better in my head.
Yeah.
Of course, when we got to book 4, I was like, okay, now I remember why I was starting to dislike this.
And that was actually my favorite one. Goblet?
What?
Goblet was my favorite.
No.
Oh, yes.
You realize Goblet of Fire has so many things that they never
We
referenced
already
ever
talked
again.
about this, man. We already talked about this.
Yeah, but we're getting but at the time you didn't know.
Yeah, I'm aware. They don't. Yes.
But you didn't know the full extent of them never bringing some of this stuff up again. You know what I mean?
The Giants freaking bullied Hagrid, and that was the end of it.
Yeah. Well, okay. We're not at book 7 yet. I don't remember, but the giant lady, she never showed up again. They haven't even brought her up. The other schools, they don't bring them up again. Like the guy at the end of book 4, the guy that ran off, the former Death Eater, was it Cass? It started with a K.
It's forever.
Karkaroff, something like that.
Karkaroff, yeah. Oh, he was from Durnstrom.
But he disappeared without a trace, and then we didn't hear anything about him again. And I'm curious to know what happened to him, but maybe it's in book 7. Maybe. I don't remember.
I mean, I'll agree with you. Book 5, though, that was a rough one.
That was the worst.
That was a rough one.
And noticeably, this one is way smaller than book 5.
I don't remember a thing of 5, dude, other than like the very end.
Cho Chang, my guy. Cho Chang. That's all I got to say.
She's the reason, dude.
She's the reason I forgot everything.
It's her fault.
You swear she put a curse of memory loss on me.
There were some things I was reading in this book that was referenced in the last book, but I'm like, wait, was that in? No, it couldn't have been in Goblet. It had to have been the last book, but I do not remember at all. That's crazy.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big book of nothing. Even Toodles agrees. I think in one of her comments, she was like, yeah.
I skipped this one.
That part didn't, well, she's like, that part didn't make a lot of sense or they forgot about it. So,
yeah. So basically, to get into this book, first of all, I would say the only thing you take away, the only thing that we remember from the last book that's actually referenced in this, Order of the Phoenix is still kind of a thing. And Sirius is dead.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think there was anything else. Oh, the prophecy, I guess. But like,
right.
even at the end of this book, it's kind of said it's not a big deal. So it's like, you can I think you can almost skip this book.
And since since Harry's magic is fueled by love, I'm expecting at the end, our destiny doesn't define us arc. You know?
Yeah. So to get into this book,
Yeah.
And you were telling me, you were pumping me up about the first chapter. Amazing first chapter.
Wasn't it
good?
good?
It was great.
It was amazing.
Because like what it does, it goes throughout the years. And I'm like, because it's perfect because we're coming towards the end, and it goes throughout the years of like the perspective of the Prime Minister of London, you know, like, or England, just like of what's going on right now in all these books. Like, oh, what's he doing? What's the public perception? The fact that it opened up the world a little bit. The wizarding world actually kind of have their fingers in politics, almost to like an concerning amount. It's kind of interesting. It's almost like the Minister of Magic has more power than Prime Minister,
right?
Which is really crazy.
Well, obviously they do. They literally have more power. But at the same time, it's like so. The first chapter establishes the Prime Minister of England. He's visited every time, like it's either once a year or I think it is once a year.
Yeah, and he said it's actually irregular how many times he's being visited. Yeah, like right now. Yeah, so it's crazy
because normally, and the Minister of Magic only shows up when there's a new Prime Minister, essentially. And so whenever there's a new Prime Minister, the Minister of Magic comes in and is like, "Hey, by the way, wizards are real. Everything you know is a lie. We're watching. I'm out of here.
Goodbye.
Yeah, I'm out of here." And he's like, and it was so long ago that the Prime Minister's like, he doubts it even happened. Right. He's like, I don't even bring it up because everyone's gonna think I'm crazy and all that kind of stuff. So. And then he says, like, okay, so this is weird. I'm seeing them more often than not because every time they pop up, there's bad news. Right. Like the guy shows up, hey, Voldemort's, we heard Voldemort's going around. I know you're seeing an uptick in crazy events, but don't worry about it.
We got it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
That bridge collapse, dude?
Yeah.
You know,
I'm at it.
Whatever.
And then every time they show up, yeah, you remember that big explosion? Yeah, don't worry about it. Like, I'm out of here. And then finally, Fudge comes in, a character we do recognize.
Well, Fudge was there the whole time, right?
Yeah. And then so Fudge shows up and he looks like crap. Yeah. He looks like torn. Not because he was in a physical fight, but he's just tired. Right. He's exhausted. And he's like, okay, I got bad news for you, buddy. Real Prime Minister, sir. Mr. Muggle. Voldemort is real. And he's free. He's in full form.
And then he says like the Death Eaters, not the Death Eaters. Well, Death Eaters are at rise, and then he's like, The Dementors, we lost control of them. He's like,
Yeah.
weren't the Dementors the things that were keeping us safe? He's like, yeah, they joined forces. It's
Turns
bad
out
everywhere.
the dark, scary ghost people that suck souls out. Yeah, they were bad guys. I didn't see that coming. I'm so sorry.
It almost gave me the idea that, before we go any further, that almost like, did Fudge actually have to report all this to the Prime Minister, or was it almost him like venting? You know?
No, I think he was supposed to. But I think a part of it was venting. But he didn't vent that. In venting, you overshare.
Yeah.
So he didn't let it slip until the end that he wasn't the Minister of Magic anymore.
Sure.
Because the Prime Minister is like, okay, so dang, what are you doing as the Minister of Magic? He's like, oh, I got fired weeks ago. You know, I'm just here to tell you that the new guy's behind me. Here he comes.
Maybe it's a little too deep thinking. I'm thinking like maybe it's like his way of almost coping, like to reassure people, because that's what he always did. He reassured people that he is in control. Yeah, that's what his coping was. You know, like to tell the Prime Minister, like, we got it in control. You know, like it's almost like his way. I don't think anyone was telling him to do that. I have a theory that he was like basically doing that himself, because he has to, because there were times that he probably believed things are going to hell, you know, like there's nothing I can do about it. But if I reassure everyone that things are going to be okay, then like there won't be any panic, you know? Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, so it's a change from last book, because last book we didn't really get to see Fudge's comeuppance. He was the villain last book, where
he was an antagonist. I don't know about the villain, but yeah, I mean technically Voldemort was in the last book, so
right. No, the villain I think is the bad teacher, Umbridge. She's like the villain.
Even she wasn't.
I know the bad guys are there.
Again,
but Voldemort does this thing where
you can have an yeah, I know Voldemort's Voldemort. You can have so that's the thing. You can have an antagonist who's not necessarily a villain, but antagonist is just someone who again is an opposition force to the protagonist. Sure, he did have his like. I mean, Fudge has always been super sketchy, and like Umbridge definitely like had something going, but they never like were evil. You know?
No, I'm not saying they're evil, but I'd say they were the villain. Last book, the biggest enemy was Fudge and the Ministry of Magic, because the whole book they're navigating through all this stuff the Ministry's trying to do to keep everything under wraps.
Sure.
In fact, Fudge didn't want to believe that Voldemort was back last book. So Voldemort, he's there, but he wasn't the villain last book. He was a villain. He's the overarching villain, but I would say last book it was Fudge and the Ministry, definitely the big bad guys, because at the end that's who they beat. Right. When Voldemort shows up, that destroys the Ministry of Magic as a villain. Like, oh shoot, we were wrong the whole time. So, you know, agree, disagree. Sure. This book, Fudge is like, he's so insignificant now. He lost all his power. He's not the minister anymore. He got fired, essentially, is what he said. And so then the new guy comes in, Scrimgorn, I think is how you say his name. Yeah. So he comes in and he's the new guy. And he looks like a fighter. He looks like
the opposite, complete opposite.
Complete opposite Fudge. Because Fudge I always pictured in pajamas and a nightcap. And he's like, you know, oh, like, why are you waking me up, Dumbledore? Voldemort again? You know, but this guy looks like he's ready to fight, right? And so that's kind of what we're at here. And it's like, okay, cool. You know, so that's a really good chapter. Okay, I loved it. I thought it was like politics, intrigue.
Good setup.
Yeah.
Good setup.
It's like, okay, we think as a reader, we're like, okay, the Ministry's doing stuff. Sure. Great. Like we're going somewhere. So then we go to the next chapter. And okay, so this was very Game of Thrones-esque, because the next chapter with Snape, Bellatrix, Draco's mom.
Dude, I enjoyed that one even more.
It was so good. Yeah.
The chilling words at the very end of the chapter, like, go on, but I'm just like still thinking about it.
Yeah. Honestly. So it's like Bellatrix and Draco's mom, they're sitting there. Draco's mom's crying. I don't know her name. Mrs. Malfoy. She's crying. Bellatrix is like, do it. I'm an evil witch. Just don't cry. We get to serve the Lord Voldemort. Our Lord and Savior, Jesus Voldemort. Right. Yeah. You know, and she's all excited. And
the whole time there's like Bellatrix is like, Snape, why do we even trust you? You know, you're definitely working for Dumbledore, you know, like, why is the Lord? He's like, he basically lays all his cards on the table. He's like, hey, these are all the reasons, actually good reasons why Voldemort would keep him around.
That's one of my notes. Yeah. One of my notes.
Because like it could have easily been our Dark Lord works in mysterious ways. But no, he actually laid down every question that we as the readers had, Bellatrix had. I was like, that's really smart.
Yeah. So he says right here, he says, "Of course, it became apparent to me very quickly he had no extraordinary talent at all. He has fought his way out of a number of tight corners by a simple combination of sheer luck and more talented friends.
Hell yeah.
He is mediocre to the last degree, though as obnoxious and self-satisfied as was his father before him. I have done my utmost to have him thrown out of Hogwarts, where I believe he scarcely belongs. But kill him or allow him to be killed in front of me, I would have been a fool to risk it with Dumbledore close at hand." So his whole thing was, she's like, "Why didn't you kill Harry Potter?" He's like, "Because Harry Potter sucks. Like, he has no talent.
He'll die himself.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. He's like, he gets in all these weird situations, but his friends save him.
Yeah.
You know, like his more talented friends are there to bail him out every time.
But he's also like, I'm also in a very strong position
Yeah.
being so close to Dumbledore. It's
Yeah.
like, why would I throw that away?
And he said, like, to kill Harry Potter in front of Dumbledore is a death wish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that's great. So when he said what I've been saying this whole series, that Harry Potter sucks, you know, like I didn't know he was going to beat Voldemort 3 times, once
Right.
per book. I didn't know that. I thought that was that was luck. So
Yeah, he basically like gets it to the point where Bellatrix just shuts up. She's like, okay,
Yeah.
I have no more things
Right.
to say. Like, and even as a reader, I'm like, I have no more questions. Like,
right,
and then her sister, that's her sister, right?
it's Draco's mom.
Yeah. She's basically what the setup is. Draco has been asked by the Dark Lord to do something horrible.
Yeah.
You know, something unforgivable. And
Even
she's like,
Mrs. Malfoy is like, you
I
know,
can't, like,
she's
he's
evil.
He's
but
not
she's
going
like,
to live. Like,
Yeah.
he's straight up going to be dead because of this.
Yeah.
And he's not doing this because he believes he can. He's punishing us because of my husband.
Yep. Which is great because I was getting sick of Lucius's crap anyway. I was so sick of him.
He was definitely like, yeah, just like clumsy sidekick villain, you know, who like definitely dropped the ball, literally.
bunch of
And
times.
So many times. And then she's like, please, like, Snape, just do whatever you can do. And he's like, okay, like, I'll take care of the boy. And she's like, no, you have to make this in magic. Like, you have to, what's it called?
You have to pinky promise in magic right now.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, and then he's like, he pauses. And he's like, all right, let's do it. And then she words it super specifically so he can't loophole out of it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, how is he going to loophole himself out of this? And then she's like, if he fails, like, would you do the deed? And he's like, I will. And it's just like, whew.
And as a reader, we're like, what is he talking
Yeah,
about?
it's like, what the crap?
Yeah.
You have an idea? Like, is it he's going to kill Harry Potter? Is he going to
blow up Hogwarts?
like?
Is he gonna?
What's he going to do?
Yeah.
So you're like, holy crap! Amazing, 2 amazing setup chapters.
Yes.
Like this book is going to be crazy.
And naturally, in true Harry Potter fashion, we cut back
Alarm
to the
clock
Dursleys.
going. Da, 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 da.
Cut back to the Dursleys. I'm like, oh, my favorite chapters. We cut back to the less interesting Harry Potter.
I always like the setup to how he gets to Hogwarts. It's how it's different every time. It's
Yeah.
really funny.
But you know, I will say, I wasn't bored a single chapter in this book.
Oh no.
My notes in this book are very fewer, and they're all compliments.
Oh yeah.
Except for maybe like one where it's like a joke.
Sure.
But like every other clip that I've done where I was like, here, look at this. There were notes upon notes upon notes of stuff I
Oh, yeah.
hated. Whereas this book, it's like, one, the book's smaller, so I was happy. Okay. The words are the right text length.
Yeah.
That's the right size to where it's like paced. And the first 2 chapters were very well paced.
Yeah.
Like they didn't reveal too much. There weren't any monologues. There wasn't a part where Snape sits down and tells us his evil plan.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was really good. So then so it's the Dursleys again. Although this one's a lot more serious.
Yeah. Nothing really like. There's no like shenanigans, and actually, I realize now there's a reason why. Dumbledore shows up, and he's basically like,
He's got one crippled hand.
yeah, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here to take you Harry Potter. You know, like it's nice to meet you guys, but you all suck."
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, all right then." Like, there's really no argument. Just basically Dumbledore telling them like, "Hey, I'm just so disappointed in you."
Yeah.
This boy, you know, he's like, he's the future, blah blah blah. And then eventually, I don't think anything significant happens there, but it's really, I'll come back to this, or like why I think it's really cool that Dumbledore shows up. And then they leave. And honestly, for the first, I think for this chapter and like the next, like they just have a really good like heart to heart kind of like their feelings, you know, like how they feel about what's happened, you know, like Sirius dying, you know, Voldemort coming back, you know, like, am I going to be strong enough? You know, it's just all the stuff like, I had to be the one to kill Voldemort. You know, there's no other way. Like Harry's just obsessing over this, and he's dealing with Sirius's death, the only, you know, basically father figure he's ever known. It's just all this crazy stuff. And Dumbledore is trying to keep it together as well. He's still clearly affected by this stuff. But he's also like so old and wise. He's just like, focus on the task in hand. But they don't know where they're going, or Harry doesn't know where they're going.
He notices his shriveled hand. He's like, "What's going on with that?" Ah, that's not till chapter 25, my boy. Not till chapter 25.
Right. And he's like, I'll answer every question that I know the answer to. I'm like, that's really smart.
Yeah. Yeah. So go to let's see, not the Weasleys. They go to Diagon Alley, right?
Diagon Alley.
Diagon Alley.
Do they not go to Slughorn yet? Or was that later?
You're right. Thank you.
They go to Slughorn first.
Again, I read this book months ago,
Sure.
so he's refreshing my memory here. And I read Cliff Notes, but
they go to this new character's house we haven't seen before.
who I loved,
Professor Slughorn, or former.
Did
Professor
you like
Slughorn.
him? Or
Oh yeah, I liked him.
I liked him a lot.
And very interesting like introduction. How do you even describe it? He's just like,
He was like hiding in a clutter of his house, right?
very much like just like psychotic genius kind of thing, but like very jolly, but at the same time kind of mysterious.
I would have said lazy, because he's like fat and he's like, ugh. So Slughorn, do you want to teach at the school? No. Okay. I'll be right back. Here's Harry. He's famous, and he walks away. Yeah, and so then Slughorn's like,
He's like, I could collect you.
yeah, it's
Literally
like,
a line in the book.
I smell your fame. You smell like a boy who's got a lot of clout.
Sounds like you have a lot of potential.
Yeah. So then, so Harry Potter starts like, yeah, I'm Harry Potter. You know, the lightning bolt. I noticed that lightning bolt on your head, and he's like, yeah, I have it. It's my mark of clout. And he's like, I see. And then Dumbledore comes back. Okay, I got the Arby's. You know, here you go, Slugworth. And then Slugworth's like, you know what, Dumbledore, I'll go ahead and teach at your school.
He's like, no, that's okay. No, I really want to.
Yeah.
Make it. But
Now, was Slughorn being picked? Was that on purpose for what they were doing later, where they're doing memories? Did he know? Do you think Dumbledore knew from the beginning?
I think it's half and half. So interesting thing about Slughorn is that Dumbledore basically said this guy could probably go either way. Like Lord Voldemort's wanting to recruit this guy just as much as we are. So he's kind of in the middle. He could go either way, which I'm like, that's a kind of a cool character idea.
Yeah.
But
first anti-hero. No,
but there definitely is a use for him later.
Yeah.
Like a giant use for him. So I don't know. That's what he told Harry. He told Harry the reason we're recruiting him is because so that Voldemort doesn't get him.
Yeah.
On his football fantasy team. So I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, maybe as they were hopping memory to memory.
Dumbledore never lies. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He will hold so much information, but only because like this information will not be helpful if you know this. Like it's just, he's really wise that way. So yeah, I don't know.
It's an interesting thought. So okay, then does he drop him off at Diagon Alley?
Yes.
Okay,
I believe so.
So that's when he meets up with Ron, Hermione. They're getting their school books, and what's that?
At Fred and what?
What's that? Is that Draco? I smell. I thought I smelled your putrefied scent over any season. Anyway, well, what happens in that?
Is that in Fred and George? That's in Fred and George's. No, it's in like they're getting their robes, I think. And Draco's just like he's got an all new strut. He doesn't have his dad with him anymore, but he's keeping that intimidating presence. You know,
He became a man.
right? He's like
He had to be the man of the house now that his dad's locked up.
he's just pushing people around. He's just like, you know what? Don't get in my way this time. And he's like, what do you mean this time? And he's like, oh, you'll see. And Harry Potter is so gay for this kid. he's like, I'm going to follow this kid to the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
And he like starts stalking him down the alleyways and stuff. They eventually, I forget what the order is, but they eventually stop by Fred and George's gag shop. And I know Malfoy bought something there. I just don't know when it happened. But yeah, first of all, just side note, Fred and George, I think are amazing characters. I kind of want like a side story of them.
For real.
And their shop. I'm really interested in that. But yeah, basically Harry's like, I'm going to track this kid. And he tracks him down an alley. And Malfoy basically has this conversation with another character. And he does like a back alley, like drug deal, basically.
Yeah.
And Harry's like, what on earth are they talking? He has like this device that lets him listen in on conversations.
Yeah.
And it's very vague, but very like oh, serious stuff's gonna happen. You know, like
Yeah, Draco's like, I'm here for that thing that we're going to talk about in chapter 12, but I won't use it till chapter 25. Do you have those items?
also I will Darth Vader you to death if you don't give me this.
yeah. And he's like, okay, but it won't be ready till chapter 18. You better be sure it's done by 16.
Yeah, and then he shows him his swastika. And he's like, all right, you got it.
Okay, chapter 10, final offer. That's the best I can do. So very, like you said, very vague.
So Harry was probably like, what's he up to? Oh, is he
Yeah.
going to like cheat in the Quidditch games? No, he's like,
But in true Harry Potter fashion, he's not a good detective.
Right.
He only gets just enough information to look like an idiot in front of his friends.
yeah.
But he went to the store. Well, yeah, Harry, we're all at the store trying to bust. But
free-
he was very
it's free
mean.
country, dude.
Yeah. But he was like very mean about it, and it's like. But it's Draco. He's always mean. Yeah. Why does nobody believe me? Nobody ever listens. Right. And then there's also a side
Get it?
plot.
He's wearing green.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the side plot?
So there's another. It's not a side. It's really not a side plot. But Flora Decor
Oh,
is
that's
there,
right.
and she's engaged to Bill Weasley,
Mm-hmm.
the most established out of all the Weasley characters.
I had to be like multiple times. I was like, who is Bill?
You're right. No,
But yeah.
you remember Bill? I think it was book 2 when Bill showed up and he had the long hair and the one piercing, and he's like, "But wow!" The book literally said Bill seemed cool.
Okay, now that you describe that, I remember that.
He was the cool Weasley.
Yes.
So
He was the token cool one.
yeah, so Bill Weasley, the cool one, got engaged.
And the token girl one actually has a much more developed character now. So Jenny Weasley is actually way more prominent in this book, which I like a lot.
Yeah, but she's dating. What's his name? Seamus? Not Seamus.
Not Seamus. It was another guy I didn't recognize actually.
No, I recognized him. It was a name. It was a name that we. Dean Thomas.
Okay.
I said Dean's been there since the beginning. I think.
I don't remember him.
Really?
What does he do?
He's just like it's like Seamus. Him and it's.
I know
Dean-
Seamus.
Yeah,
I don't know
but
Dean
Dean's
that
been
much.
there too. It's like
Oh, okay.
he's in the same league as Seamus, or they're there. You know, and
They
it's
pop
like,
in to say, "Oh, Harry,
Yeah.
what you doing?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, nothing." All right, Harry, see you later.
yeah.
Cool.
So everyone's dating each other. So she's dating Dean. Flora and Bill are together. They're a cool couple.
Yes.
They both have one piercing.
It's cute.
It's cute and cool.
But
and
like
then-
everyone hates Floor, which is kind of funny.
yeah.
I don't get it. She
I don't
seems
either.
nice.
Yeah, she seemed fine. Like I understand her accent. I think J.K. Rowling's good at writing
Mm-hmm.
accents where she's like, "Ugh, I eat the song." She's saying I hate this song, but I eat the song. Like she's really good at writing out like language barriers and dialects. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So so everyone's dating each other except
Mm.
of course Ron, who's horribly single. Sad boy arc for Ron.
Unfortunate.
And then Harry, he's got all these girls trying to give him love potions and chocolates and candies, and then Hermione points out, "You might want to eat those. I think everyone's doing a love potion on you." So Harry's famous now, not just Slughorn after him. I keep wanting to say Slugworth from Willy Wonka,
Yeah.
but it's a Slughorn. Everybody wants some of Harry Potter's clout.
Oh, yeah.
Just by dating Harry Potter, you get 1 million subscribers on YouTube. So anyway, so let's go to the train. I don't think we missed anything now. Draco's up to something. We don't know what. Harry's not good at being a detective.
This never stops, by the way.
Yeah.
Harry is always like, "Where's Malfoy?" And then it progressively gets crazier and crazier. And Ron and Hermione almost always give the same reaction.
Like you said, he never wants to let it go. He's
Ron
like,
and Hermione always give the same exact reaction, like, "Dude, chill out. We've been with him for 6 years. He's never changed."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, it's gotta be something." And like, maybe he's just way more he knew about his father for 2 books.
Yeah.
So I almost
and
argue
he
that
still
he's
wasn't this paranoid.
he's way more paranoid this time, which
Yeah.
it almost feels like he should have been this paranoid last book, but he is, right? He's definitely taking over. He's a Death Eater. He's taking his father's place, everything with like wild accusations, right?
Yeah.
So he tries to follow.
Well, before that, it's like, so what are we going to do about Quidditch? I don't know about Quidditch, but Draco. The lightning. But Draco. You know,
Exactly what
everyone's
it
trying to
is.
poison you with love potions, yes, but not the same poison that Draco's using.
Maybe the love potions from Draco.
Yeah. There's a weird alternate reality where Draco accidentally fed Harry a love potion. He's like, "I love Draco."
Honestly, dude, I believe it. So he goes chase after his love. I mean Draco. I mean his love.
Yeah.
And basically he eavesdrops on another conversation, I think with Crabbe and Goyle, and Malfoy again. He's like he's like the evil opposite of Harry Potter. He's just like such little information.
Yeah.
He's basically like, oh yes, I'll take the knife and stick it in, and then he like looks behind him. And he's like, gotcha. And he basically surprised. He's like, oh my god. And he catches Harry Potter, and he does something I've been wanting something to happen to Harry Potter. Oh, Harry Potter had the cloak of invisibility.
Yep.
Coward.
He got caught again.
And I'm like, I wanted this to happen for so long. Harry Potter never gets like bullied, you know? So he hangs him up like upside down, and then he pulls the invisibility cloak over him so no one finds him. Like, that's awesome.
Then he kicks him in the face too.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Finally, somebody does. Harry needed a good kick to the face.
I'm like, that is so great. Good for you, Malfoy.
Yeah.
You go plan whatever you're planning.
And that concluded Snape's task. that was the big arc at the beginning of the book where it's like that was the task that Voldemort gave him. Yeah,
right?
I want you to kick Harry Potter in the face.
That was great. I think Seamus found him. He was like, "What are you doing, Harry, down there?"
No, it was Tonks.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, Tonks I said magically. I mean, that's the world we're in. Tonks magically showed up.
He's like, "Hello."
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I could have smelled you from a mile away.
Yeah. And she's like, what are you doing? And he goes into it. Malfoy's up to something, and he kicked me.
They're like, okay.
Yeah. And Tonks, of course, is like, And that's the end of her conversation. It's very short. Tonks is in this book a lot for some reason.
And they Tonks usually has like the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right. Yeah.
Which a few of them do, right? So it's like Seamus, Tonks, and then
anyone in the Order of the Phoenix, they're just like, we're here. We're doing something.
Honestly.
We're on Dumbledore's orders, but we don't know what they are. So.
Yeah, like I said, the Order of the Phoenix doesn't really come into play until the very end, which kind of do, but not really.
Not even really in this book. They did in the end of the last book.
They're mentioned that, they're off screen fighting, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So they get to Hogwarts, and Harry, well, actually, no, Harry's late for some reason, right? Because of the bag, right? I think he's late to the hall.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Snape pulls him by the ear.
Because Tonks walks him to the gate.
Yes.
And Snape shows up.
And he pats him on the back, and then Snape just goes from the grass, and he grabs him by the scar, and he pulls him over to the courtyard. He's like, "This is so typical of you. How predictable of the chosen one. I have no favoritism towards you." And he disappears.
But how'd you feel about that though, with Snape being up to something? You know what I mean? And now he's back to being a professor. Like, how'd you feel as a reader? Were you like, okay, Snape's here. What's he doing?
So yeah, this was going to come eventually. I think when we first started reading these books, I told you I knew 2 big spoilers. So I knew what one of these spoilers were.
Okay.
So I'm like, part of me, I'm like, Dumbledore trusts him, so we gotta trust him. Basically, I was on Harry's side. I wasn't on Harry's side. I was like, Snape's up to something, but I think Malfoy's actually up to something.
Yeah.
I wasn't really suspicious of Snape, if that makes sense. So
that's fair.
So
that's too bad.
Yeah, it is too bad. I wish I was.
I'm kind of curious to know what your thoughts would have been. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, honestly, and we'll get more into it at the end of the book, because there was a surprise for me that I didn't realize. But so yeah, Harry got kicked in the head. Snape pretty much cursed him with detention. And he's like,
Imperious Detention Arius.
The forbidden art.
That's pretty good. Voldemort's never been so cruel.
No, my bathroom pass. Oh,
that was funny. Unintentionally, that was a very funny joke you made.
Whatever. So when was he made captain of the Quidditch team? Was that last book?
No, that was this book.
That was this book. Who made him captain? I forget that.
I don't know, but I thought he took the job well.
Yeah,
he was making decisions.
He was actually really smart about it.
Yeah.
It's the football scholarship guy. The one thing he takes seriously, he's actually going to be really good at.
Yeah.
So he's actually he's not just picking Ron because they're friends. He's like, no, you have to actually prove yourself because we have a lot of competent people who are trying to.
Naturally, Ron's like, I can't do it. It's like the Pickles episode of SpongeBob. I can't do it.
and then Harry's like, I know you can't, but you gotta try.
Yeah,
because I really don't want this kid on my team.
Yeah. And Ron's a good Quidditch player, but for some reason he forgot last book happened where he won the championship without Harry even being
No,
there.
even Harry brings it up. He's like, you won the championship, dude. He's like, I know. I just can't get over it.
I got my sad boy art going on.
I'm so lonely.
Yeah, I just can't. I've never kissed a girl. And they bring that up too.
Right.
I've never kissed a girl.
It's like, yeah, when would you have? We've been documenting your entire life. We know.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Join the club. What do they say? What do they call kissing in this books? What do they call it? They said like snubbing or something.
I don't know.
Snob.
I didn't get into it.
It was a weird word.
I wasn't into it like you were.
No, I wasn't. It was just a weird word they chose. And I was sick of hearing it because it was like, this is like just stupid kid lingo, but whatever.
I never slobbed the knob with anybody.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going? Just why are you being weird about it?
Maybe it's a British thing.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah, I've never nickered my, something weird.
Okay. So what happens? I think we go to Slughorn's class, or is it his party first? Which
so
one comes first?
they announced at the dinner that Slughorn's doing potions, and everyone's like, "Huh? It's always Snape doing potions."
Yeah. And they're like, "Well, who on earth is going to be the Defense of the Dark Arts?"
And then everybody stops. Everybody pans over and looks at Hagrid, and Hagrid steps out the way, and behind him, Snape.
It's much worse.
No. Snape is now the Defense Against Dark Arts teacher.
That I was not expecting.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa.
Hold on a minute. That's not what happened the first 5 books.
I'm like, okay, I thought there was like a bit that was going on, and you ruined the bit, or I'm like, something serious has happened. Like, this is going to be the book, like Empire Strikes Back. Like this is going to change things.
It did, I'd say.
Oh, it definitely did.
I argue it did.
Potions class looks very different now, and Defense of the Dark Arts looks very different now.
And Harry wants to be an Auror. I don't know how you say it.
Auror.
Auror.
It's Auror, actually.
Auror. Okay. He wants to be an Auror.
Basically, like this secret police, like hit squad. Basically, you just have your job is to find Death Eaters. I wouldn't even say people who use the dark arts because, again,
they fight dark arts.
But Dernstrom teaches dark arts. That's why I was always been confused. So let's just say Death Eaters in this aspect. That's what they're hunting. Also, funny you bring that up. I want to bring up a cool little detail about this world right now is that things that happen in the book last books actually do matter. Everyone's on edge. There's always this kind of like tension in the air, like, oh, Voldemort's actually like very prominent, and people are getting murdered like left and right. People are being arrested, whether they did things or not. And they have this system now. It didn't really play into the book like I thought it would. They had a system where like you have to have basically I'm not a robot questions with your friends and your family, essentially. Like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? And then you have to ask, and then they have to ask you. And you learn that with the Weasleys.
That's a good point. That would have been a really cool thing where
I thought that was going to play in.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Like at the end of the book, Ron's like, can't answer a question. Like, what's your favorite food?
Because they actually,
Knickers.
because polyjuice is a big thing in this book. They meant that's a big thing in this book. I thought they were going to play with that a little bit, but they didn't. I don't know if she forgot about that or she's saving it for the next book.
And it's really cool too because in the when Polyjuice first showed up,
that was book 1, I think, right?
book 2,
when they snuck
Chamber
in,
of Secrets.
Yeah, when they snuck into the Slytherin common room.
Right. And so it was cool because Polyjuice was an advanced potion. Whereas in this one, it's like not anymore because they're past that level. So it was cool to see Polyjuice come into play a lot more because now everyone knows how to do it.
Yep.
It was a really cool idea. So they've all grown as wizards.
Apparently, that's a very common tactic with Death Eaters. So it's like, yeah, you'd think. Because what was really cool is that even when, what's the father Weasley's name? Do you remember?
Arthur.
Yeah, when Arthur comes home and the wife's like, "Oh, welcome back, Arthur." And he's like, "No. What am I?" Like ask your question.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, blah blah blah. We don't have to do this." He's like, "No, we do." And I'm like, he's in the trenches. Like he actually sees like what's the overall like what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just really cool. Like how
Little did you know that'd be a one-off. It's just because Arthur is very.
I really hope they make that a thing in the next book because I'm like, dang, that's such a good idea.
That would have been really cool. Like we don't know who's under a curse.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
hey, Ron, you're acting weird. What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't like scary movies.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
And then like or if he gets off his nerves for like if he plays Quidditch, like he's like, I'm not nervous at all. It's like, get him. I've kissed so many women. Nope. Don't think so. But yeah, we'll see. And Imperiatus curse is a thing in this book too. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But like, I thought that was a cool detail that the world's kind of like in this state right now. So
Yeah.
even the students are like a little weirded off. But for Snape to become Defense of Dark Arts, that almost reinforces it's like, because Harry always has suspicions that he's a Death Eater.
Yep.
And he's like, what is Dumbledore thinking? Come on, guys. Like, is no one else seeing this? And everyone else is like, oh, no, well, whatever. I mean, he's a little smelly, but not evil.
You're a little stinky, but like you reek of evil, but I'm sure it's nothing. Put on some
Slughorn
cologne.
smelling him. Nah, not famous enough.
But so yeah. New cool reveal. So then I think after that's the party.
Yeah.
So it's either Hermione or Ginny. I think Ginny's
Jenny
invited.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
So Slughorn is basically inviting all these random people. I don't know if that ever comes into play again, but he just invites random people to
It
his
comes into
party.
play a little bit later, but it's just to show
Yeah.
what kind of person Slughorn is. So Slughorn has this thing where he loves to be with the in crowd. He's
Yeah.
famous because of his students becoming famous.
Right.
If you're in Slughorn's inner circle, you're going places.
Harry's parents, I think, were in his classes.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
But
And-
interesting enough, he was Slytherin. So that's also kind of like a little bit of like, can I trust him? Because Harry's like, he's like, all Slytherins are the same at this point. So he's like really kind of like on the fence. And he was like, this guy was never really loyal to Dumbledore. Again, he could have gone either way. So
Yeah.
I don't know what this guy's act is,
Right.
you know?
So but the Weasleys are invited, and it's like, Ginny, why are you here? You're not famous. Your family's not famous. Well, he saw me do some defense stuff where I was getting picked on, so I did a spell on somebody.
Right.
So and then does he go to this party with Ginny? I think he does. And
Ginny's there, yeah.
well, does Harry go?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
He does.
And then it wasn't anything special. It was just like Slughorn's like, yes, Harry, my crown jewel.
Right.
It's amazing. And then so nothing special, and it's pretty accurate for real life. Anytime I've gone to that type of stuff, it's like a bunch of wannabes, people who think they're cool. So,
Right. Interesting. I still like, he's better than, I love both his characters. Who is the Lionheart? I love Lionheart, but like Lionheart was like the bad version of this where he wrote the books about himself,
Oh yeah, Lockhart.
Lockhart.
Yeah.
Lionheart. Well,
Yeah,
these
you're
names.
good.
These names.
You're thinking of Reinhardt from Overwatch.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can we jump to his first class?
Well, I was gonna say we also know that he has class with Dumbledore. So Dumbledore wants him for special lessons. That's all we know. Also,
Which is like, okay, finally we're doing this. Like we should have been doing this from the very beginning.
oh
but
yeah, book one he should have been like, okay, now you're gonna repel Voldemort's attacks right now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now we're finally doing it after Harry's almost died like 5 times. So he's like, cool. The first one, I don't think he does the memory thing yet, does he?
No, I think they do.
They do?
So is that the class you want to jump to?
No, Slughorn's class, but we can go there first. So I'm trying to think of what the first memory was. It was of him meeting Tom Riddle for the first Dumbledore.
No. That's the third one.
What's the first one?
The very first one is a memory of Voldemort's ancestors.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Slytherin's descendants.
Yes.
So the redneck family in
Yeah.
Swamp.
They're like they're all hicky.
Yeah.
And they're like they're like redneck hick people, but they have all this very fancy Slytherin paraphernalia from back in the day. And he's like, I'm the last descendant of Salazar Slytherin.
Yeah, the Slytherins will rise again.
Yeah, so this guy, he's like very old, and it's Marvolo, which is Voldemort's grandfather.
Right.
But so Marvolo, that's not his name in that they use though. It's a weird name. It's like I forget what it is. It's like Mulch or something, something weird.
And then his son, who is like just Bear Man, basically.
Yeah.
And then his daughter, who is like just the silent child maid in the background.
Yep. And so the son is picking on Muggles.
Yes.
And we learn that the daughter, who's Voldemort's mom, used a love potion on a Muggle named Tom Riddle.
Yeah.
Tom Riddle Senior.
Senior.
Yep. And we don't know much about that. We just know like, okay, so this is how Voldemort was born, essentially. And so I think this is where he goes into detail. I could be wrong, but they go into detail about how she used love potion on Tom Riddle.
She fancied him. I think that's where the first one was just like, that's what made the father so angry is that, my daughter can't be with no.
But
Muggle.
Dumbledore just elaborates at the end. He says so she gave love juice potion to Tom Riddle, and they ran off, and it pissed off Marvolo.
Yeah.
She got pregnant, but then eventually the love potion wore off. They don't say what happened. It's either, I think Dumbledore throws out that like maybe she confessed or maybe the potion wore off. But either way, as soon as it wore off or she confessed, Tom Riddle took off.
I think she made him actually. I don't know if he was married, but she made him like leave whoever he was dating at the time. I think, or with at the time.
Yeah. So whenever it wore off, he was
He's
like,
"Oh my god, what have I done?
I'm out of here." Like, and he leaves. So then he leaves her with a pregnant, Voldemort's mom, and she's pregnant with Voldemort.
Right.
And so then I think it's later we get into the flashback of what she did after the fact.
Yeah.
So born in a very bad situation. So we kind of take this time to flesh out Voldemort, and it's really good.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was a very like they started way back before he was even born. A really weird redneck family.
Yeah, I like how it's obviously he put all these memories together. It's painting the picture that he is basically had the same upbringing or very similar upbringing to Harry.
Yeah.
Where Voldemort wasn't born in a pure blood family. He wasn't from a long lineage of these uber wizards, It was like just like this kind of sad, pathetic family that was like nothing special, to be honest.
Right.
And then it was just his mom who just so happened to have a bad situation. Like it was not like there was no prophecy. It was just like, boom, there it is, And then like later when we get to the orphanage, like it just kind of reinforces that. I think like hey, he actually had like not a normal childhood, but like a normal upbringing. I think ish. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's see. I cannot remember what the second one was.
It's when I think that was the orphanage.
No, that's the third one.
You sure?
It was toward the end.
I don't know what would have been in between.
Yeah, I just read the Spark Notes, and there were a couple other ones, but the first one was just about the grandparents and stuff like that.
That is
so
true.
so we go back, so then they cut, and then we can go now to Slughorn's lesson.
Yeah, so he's basically it's potions, not Defense of the Dark Arts.
Yep,
We're used
potions.
To.
Yep,
and he gives Harry the book, right? Because he's like, Harry doesn't have a book,
right? So
Slughorn gives him.
Cliff Notes said that Harry went to McGonagall, and she's like, "Don't worry about it. You have a bet." So he has a low score in potions on his owls, and he can't be an Auror without high scores in potions. Right. She's like, "Well, don't worry. It's not Snape anymore. It's Slughorn. He's way easier than Snape." And so then he's like, "Well, I don't have books or anything." He's like, "Well, Slughorn has some. He can borrow from him." So he gets the potions. And Slughorn's like, my boy, yes, my crown jewel. I'm so excited you're in my class.
Yes.
And so then he's like, okay, here you go.
Yeah, just
borrow this potions book, no problem.
And he starts reading, and he's like, someone already had this.
Someone scribbled in this, and so
yeah.
What's the first potion they do? He says, "Here's the reward. It's the Felixis something. It's the luck potion,
magic or liquid luck."
Yeah, liquid luck. Really cool. And he says, whoever makes this potion will win.
I don't remember if it was anything like significant of an effect, but
the book he has, it's got scribbles in it, and it's not the pictures you'd find in a middle school science book.
No, it's like, this guy like knew his stuff. He was smart enough to make his own spells, and his own potions.
Yeah.
Like
he's like, so let's say there's a potion with 5 ingredients. Right. Well, the book was so good to where the guy said, you don't need those other 3, just use these 2, and you put these 2 together. It'll make that same exact potion. Yeah. So Harry makes a very good potion that
half the effort,
half the ingredients,
and everyone else notices. Oh wow, even Hermione's like, what the heck? Like, I'm usually top in this every class, but this class specifically. And then like Slughorn's like, oh my gosh, that's so smart of you. Like that's genius. I could not have imagined that. And then I think he looks at the back of the book. Right. That's when he looks at the back. Like, who owned this book?
Right. And I don't know if it was that time, but later on at the back of the book, it's like, this book is owned by the Half-Blood Prince.
Right.
And he's like, well, who the heck is that?
And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I can't wait to see who that is.
Of course, Hermione shows up. Oh, it could have been a girl. Prince could mean woman.
Wow. How's that other activist movement going, Hermione?
Where's Spew at, by the way?
Oh, that's so funny that Hermione does that, because I thought that was going somewhere. But
No. Nah. What were you saying? You remember? So he did the Half-Blood Prince, and then
he read the
Hermione's like, it could be
Hermione's
a girl.
Like, it could be a girl, and everyone's like, shut up. And she's like, well, it could be. And he's like, this book's amazing. It's like the ultimate cheat code guide.
For real.
And like every class, basically, I don't want to harp on the classes too much because not anything really different happens. He just keeps on winning and winning and winning. He's like, wow, this has the answers to literally everything. And then he realizes, oh, it has spells in it too.
Yep.
And he's like, I wonder what this one does. I wonder what this one does.
Yeah.
And he like even like tries it on Ron one night. He's like, which is I'm just like, Harry, what the heck, dude? You don't know what these are. And Hermione points out, she's like, you don't even know what these spells do. He's like, oh, if it was a student, like they wouldn't do anything that dangerous. So he like does a spell where it lifts Ron up by the foot, by the ankle, like in bed. And I thought Ron was good and him were gonna get into an argument over this. But Ron's like, oh, that was cool. Do it again. He's like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So like he's getting more attention because he's like, oh wow, I'm a smart boy now.
There's a part where they're comparing classes and schedules and stuff, and everyone's like, "Wait, did anybody sign up for Hagrid's class?"
Oh yeah,
and everyone's like, no, and Hagrid's like, I can't wait to see all this year. I'm finally the teacher again.
Like,
yeah, and
because Harry has to be an Auror.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I don't. Yeah. You know what? If I was an Auror, though, I wish there was a specialty to be a care of magical creatures class. There's like a specialty where it's like, hey, I'm hunting this specific Death Eater, and these werewolves can sniff them out, and you're holding them by the leash.
Just a canine unit.
Yeah, it'd be sweet.
Well, actually, funny you say that. Apparently, they're werewolf politics, and they all like Voldemort. Who would have thunk it? So,
why are all the cool creatures on Voldemort's side? We get Lupin. He's like the only werewolf that's a good guy.
Lupin. We got Lupin. I hate being a werewolf. It's a curse.
And he puts on this fedora. I can't be. Oh no, a half moon.
No. Hey. We got Dobby.
That's the end of this episode, guys. Dobby's in this book too.
To be fair, it's short and he's helpful.
He actually did stuff this book.
And I love Creature. Good.
I like
Creature's so funny.
Yeah. It's just Dobby I didn't like. And honestly, book 2 is the most annoying. He actually he did get a lot better as time went on.
Yeah. He's a free.
But that's later. Yeah. Okay. So no one signed up for Hagrid's class.
And they're like, well, we gotta go. We haven't seen Hagrid in days. They're like, I wonder.
Yeah. they're treating it like one of my friendships, right? Like, I ain't seen this dude in forever. Yeah. Well, I ain't starting today. So, yeah. It's paced really well.
Oh yeah.
My problems with the other books were like
you get drawn out sequences that don't matter.
Book 4, look at all this lore dump.
Yeah.
Book 2, there's no pacing. It's just like nothing happens until the last 3 chapters, and here's all the stuff that you were supposed to be. Here's all the stuff you're supposed to know. But this one, you're learning as time goes on.
Yeah. What the characters know, and you only know what the characters know.
Yeah.
And there are some things that the characters don't, but you still don't have the answers to. So it's like,
well, like
keep you intrigued.
On chapter 2, where you're studying, so I'm reading the Spark Notes on it, and I accidentally read a part that was talking about an analysis, and someone pointed out in the analysis, this is the first time where the reader is given like almost not the first time, but this is one of the few times the reader's given a perspective from other than Harry on what's going on, because most of the time Harry's learning firsthand, and we as a reader are learning firsthand what's going on.
Yeah.
But this is one of the few chapters where Snape's telling you what's happening. It's a third-person perspective, whereas most of the time it's Harry's first person. Like, I saw this. I'm doing this. I'm mad about this.
Yeah.
But third-person perspective with chapter 2. So we're getting very good pacing. We're getting all this really cool stuff that...
Yeah, I'm hoping it continues on to 7.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well,
I already know the answer, but we'll see.
We'll see.
But I'm loving it. Like, we're learning. Like, Harry's finally somewhat competent. Like, he's a good Quidditch captain.
Yeah.
There's some love plot, but it's not as bad. Like, Ron and Hermione are annoying a bit.
Yeah.
And it's not because Hermione's annoying. It's just the Ron-Hermione love triangle subplot, again, that they're still doing.
It was so mercifully short this time.
It was.
Like, compared to the last one, dude.
Yeah.
That was like 2/3 of the book was nothing but that. So, like, this time I'm like, okay, cool. At least they're, like, speed running it a little bit.
And it just makes me wonder, like, did book 5, was it badly received, or did people get all these letters like, yeah, there's just all this stuff nobody cares about?
I don't think people like that book very much.
Right.
So probably not.
Because it nobody liked Umbridge, and I think that was the point. You're not supposed to like Umbridge.
I don't think anyone liked Cho either. I don't think she's barely in this book. She's like in one.
Yeah.
But I didn't like her anyway. So.
But another thing too is this book trims out a lot of the fat, where it's like there's no there's even a part where this character pops in. So they're on the train. I missed this part. It's one of my notes. They're on the train, and this girl, Romilda Vane, pops in. She's like, I'm Romilda Vane. And she's like, I'm this new character, you know, like take note of me. I'm very pretty. I'm this new cool character.
Right.
And then Harriet's like, so? And she's like, oh, you're right. And
The
then
freaking chosen one.
and then she leaves.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
Whatever.
this book has no time for new characters.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like,
Luna is also
yeah.
in this one too a little
yeah,
bit.
no, Luna's cool. So she pops out, I'm a new character. And they're like, get out of here. Okay. And then she
cares?
leaves. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, cool. We're not wasting
She's
time.
like, I am the new character. I'm the new plot point. Shh, Malfoy's just in another room. I'm trying to listen. Shut up.
Shut up. There's real plot going on one car over, you know? So like, I'm happy. Like there's no new characters that either die this book or don't come back or something like that. Like it's just not going on.
Yeah.
You know? It's really tight. It's airtight. It's a good book.
Oh, so by the way, the reason we're doing the synopsis right now is because we're definitely going to do 2 parts of this. So.
We have to. So, I mean, I guess we can put it done now. So, yeah, I thought we'd get through this in an hour, but clearly not.
So far, first impressions, I mean, like, yeah, this is kind of pretty easy to tell. This is going to be like the definitive book, probably.
Yeah.
It's like,
this is in my opinion. Maybe you'll love book 7. Maybe you'll love it.
Maybe.
The ultimate conclusion to Voldemort's story.
Yeah? You think so? Okay.
Can't wait to figure it out. Never mind.
Oh, yeah,
I'm just gonna. We haven't gotten there yet. Okay. Book 6. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Maybe the last chapter will just kill it for me, but I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving it. So I hope this is. Hope you guys like this. We'll come back next week with the other half of the book. It's taking longer than I thought. I thought we'd get it all done in an hour, but no. There's so much to talk about. There's all this good stuff here.
Yep.
So guys, thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next time when we finish up book 6, and I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. We'll see you soon.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.